Because if they really sit back and look at the price in the airports, they go, you know what, I need to give me a bag of chips.
Actually, the prices of this Coca-Cola I'm drinking in the airport is high. The price of the food,
I know.
That's normal price.
I know.
They don't gouge you on that stuff.
They
if you want a Coke, you go to McDonald's and get a Coke. I'll take a dollar Coke, please.
Was it $5.75 for that bottle?
No, $4.50.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Miss Lemon said she heard music.
Music? I haven't heard any music. Uh-oh. You know what? Miss Lemons must be on crack, right, kids?
Things go better with Coca-Cola. Things go better with Coke.
Oh, you should put that speech on tape.
He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way.
Hello, Chicago, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Got a drink to that?
Welcome to Alternate Reality.
Yeah, give me one egg.
Yeah, but you're more likely more thirsty than you are hungry.
Yeah, but you go get something to eat. You can sit down and eat it. You can sit at the gate and eat it. You don't have to sit there. With the Coke, yeah, you're sitting there. I mean, I'll go in, I get a Coke, I get a paper, I sit there at the gate before my plane, I drink the Coke, and I read the newspaper. And I throw the newspaper away, or I put it on the chair and go, okay, free paper, read it, take it with you. But I wouldn't buy a muffin. That's $6.
Well, they're gouging you there then.
That's why I don't buy muffins.
Well, it's not just Cokes, then it's snacks.
I will.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely
Coke,
snacks.
Yeah, Coke
definitely snacks.
I will buy the Coca-Cola because I need the caffeine, and I don't want to go to Starbucks because I don't go to Starbucks. So I'll buy a Coca-Cola, which I'm not supposed to drink, but I drink every once in a while.
Yeah. If you're not supposed to drink a Coke, then why the hell are you drinking a Coke?
I need caffeine. I don't drink coffee.
And why shouldn't you drink Coke?
Well, I'm a diabetic.
That's the reason why you need to learn how to like coffee.
That's why I drink iced coffee.
There isn't an ounce of sugar in coffee unless you dump it in there.
Dump it in there. I didn't feel like getting an iced coffee.
You know where you will find an ounce of sugar, though? In every single drop.
There's no sugar in it.
You know where you will find an ounce of sugar? Right here at Alternate Reality, because we have a drop of sugar for every single interaction we have with our customers.
A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
A spoonful of sugar. Hey, folks, welcome to the Alternate Reality, the podcast for the comic book store Alternate Reality, which is located at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie, beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. Alternate Reality, where all new comic store is 15% off every day for everyone for over a quarter of a century. Now, 25 years plus. Nobody has paid full price for a new comic here at Alternate Reality. Today, I'm being joined by the one, the only, the man of musical notes, Rod Flash.
Hello.
See, musical notes. And also with us today is...
The guy drinking a Coca-Cola.
Is the guy drinking a Coca-Cola himself, Bo.
How you doing, kids?
Yeah, how you doing, kids? And as I said, this is Comic Book Man, and we are here today to talk about the event in the DC Comics universe that has been going down in flames since they first announced it.
It's not flames.
Well, it's certainly become a non-event.
Pilot the pilot.
I don't even consider it an event.
And that, well, DC did.
It's a trade dress. It's not
DC
really an
did.
event.
And that, of course, is Year of the Villain. And as people have asked me, how long is this thing supposed to go on? A year.
Well, no. It ends in December. It's a half year of the villain.
Okay.
But half year doesn't look good on the market.
Half year of the villain.
Yeah, you can't really sell. This is the half year of the villain.
Titled Half Year of the Villain, it makes it look like you're not even trying.
Well, right. So
That
it
might
says
be
the
called
year of the
Year
villain.
of the Villain.
Or you could say the storylines take place over the course of a year.
Well, you know when the storyline started?
May.
This storyline started on Wednesday, May 1st.
25
quarter
sample.
comic.
Yeah.
DC did this year exactly what they did last year. And their free comic book day offerings does not have any sort of mainstream adult title. They had kids, and they had the cut-down version of the Catwoman book, which came out. But there wasn't a mainstream comic book for them to push. Last year they did the sampler.
Yeah.
Okay, this year they did a Year of the Villain jump-off book. It wasn't for Free Comic Book Day, but it shipped the Wednesday before Free Comic Book Day.
It was a quarter.
And it was only a quarter. So for some reason, DC just doesn't want to jump on the Free Comic Book Day bandwagon.
Which is something everybody else does.
Instead, they say, here's this book for a quarter, which is actually less than what you're buying the free comic book day book
Yeah,
store.
and said
with my discount,
most stores are giving it away anyway.
With my discount or any store's discount, you're actually paying less for that book than you're paying for most of your free.
So 25% off minus what, 40%?
Well, I'm not going to get into that.
Well, if it was a mainstream book, stores get a 40% discount.
Let me put it this way: the free comic book day books are not free.
No, they're
not
free
to you.
No.
They're not free to me.
People who work on them do have to get paid.
And guess who pays for it?
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
And the DC book, that cost me much less.
The free comic
but it wasn't a free comic book day book.
No.
But it shipped just before free comic
right.
book day. None of which makes any goddamn sense.
The second year in a row they've done this. Maybe next year they'll go, why don't we do this on free comic book day?
Well, they did the same thing like I said last year. They shipped the sampler last year. It was another quarter comic. It shipped the Wednesday before free comic book day.
Yeah.
But they did not have a mainstream free comic book day book.
No.
So I don't know where DC's head is at. This is like simple stuff that they seem to be screwing up.
Bad marketing?
Or they don't care. Well, we could talk for hours about DC and bad marketing, which we might actually touch on in this episode because that's part of the problem with this event. But Year of the Villain started May 5th of this year. It's going to end the end of this year, so it's half year.
Yeah, it'll end before...
Half year plus of the villain.
Their Christmas offering is New Year's Evil. Marvel and DC are offering one book at the end of the year. Marvel's setting up the entire year of 2020, and New Year's Evil is setting up the bigger event, which is what Year of the Villain is supposed to be leading into.
Now, DC released this book that was supposed to be the big event for this year, but there's no miniseries to back it up.
No.
What there are is crossovers in most of the mainstream DC universe.
I would be real generous calling them crossovers.
Continuous crossovers.
It's putting the label on a book, which basically, none of the stuff's connected.
Well, Justice League Titans, Batman City of Bane is a Year of the Villain book because Bane was given extra powers from Luthor. So that makes it apex-lex.
Yes, he's become Randy Orton. Apex-lex. I'm apex-lex.
Which I think is just the stupidest name.
Apex. There's people going, what the hell's Apex mean? Oh, wait a minute, I watch wrestling. I know what it means.
It is too cute by half. But DC's doing it anyway.
You know what this really is? It's telling him, this is a Justice League event. That's all it is. The individual books really don't connect to anything. It's like, oh, the villain's got increased powers, and the hero's going to face the villains. And that's the only connection they have.
There's no miniseries for this series, but if you've been reading Justice League, that's essentially what your miniseries is. Every single issue.
This is a Scott Snyder event.
Now, what they have done with Year of the Villain is, like I said, the crossovers in the mainstream books, which you said would be very generous, but it still is. Yeah. Well, the trade dress is there, Year of the Villain. And Year of the Villain, the offering, the gift?
The offering, the gift, and the price.
The price. All of which will be going on through the mainstream books. Now, they also do a series of one-shots. Well, so far they've done Year of the Villain Black Adam, Year of the Villain the Riddler, Year of the Villain Lex Luthor, Year of the Villain Sinestro, the Year of the Villain Black Mask. You also have Year of the Villain Harley Quinn. You've got what you mentioned, Year of the Villain Hell Arisen, which makes me think, remember the old event DC did back in the late 90s? Underworld,
where each
Neron.
They sold to the guy Neron.
This sort of sounds.
Neron, by the way?
Well, that sort of sounds like Neron's coming back in this thing. DC's Mephisto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
DC has two Satans. They have Lucifer.
Right. He's in the Black Label line, or whatever. He's in the loosely connected, non-existent Vertigo line.
Yeah, well, Lucifer, which came out of Vertigo, which came out of Sandman.
Right.
That is actually a much better representation of the devil.
Yeah.
Than Neron, who was more like Mephisto over the Marvel
Neron
universe.
was a superhero.
Except Mephisto isn't even a superhero.
He was a villain. He was a villain with powers in a bland costume.
Well, Mephisto sort of straddles that border between supervillain / Satan. Uncomfortably at times. Neron is a supervillain.
Neron's a supervillain. Yeah, with Marvel, it's like, we didn't want to say, well, he's the devil.
He's the devil,
we call him Mephisto.
We'll call him Mephisto, which is another word for the devil. But he's not really the devil. Wink, wink, wink. He's pretty damn close.
So, as of now, this thing is rocketing along, and nobody seems to give a damn.
Okay,
nobody's buying the books.
Mr. Retailer, let me ask you a question. The books that have this Year of the Villain label right now, are the numbers the same as they were before it was labeled Year of the Villain?
Yeah.
Then basically
numbers haven't changed.
It's because it's a loose connection.
I take that back. On some of the titles, not all the titles, on some of the titles there was a slight jump. Yeah. And by jump, I mean maybe 10% more.
Okay.
On stuff like the first issue of The Price.
Yeah.
Or the first issue of Year of the Villain. Yeah. Right after those first issues, it goes back down, and we're only talking a 10% jump.
Yeah.
We're not talking a huge jump.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is a couple of people who were interested enough to pick it up to see what it was, and then stop picking it up.
And went, oh, well, this is kind of like the regular book. Well, yeah, that's kind of like the point.
And the one
was let's upgrade the villain. That was the entire point.
And the one-shots have done nothing. They haven't sold worth a damn. And some of them, like for Sinestro, I pulled out my numbers for the last Sinestro run, which ran like 22, 23 issues.
Okay.
And I took a look at that, and I ordered accordingly. This is the first issue, so you don't go to the tail end of the run. You go back to the beginning of the one. Okay, well, how many did I sell of 1? How many did I sell of 2? How many did I sell of 17, 18, 19? Where is my arc there? I don't put my month that I'm going to order at the beginning of that arc, and I don't put it at the end of that arc. I find a spot in the curve, and that's where I put how many of this book, Year of the Villain Sinestro, that I'm going to order. And it still didn't sell near that number.
Wow. Sinestro in itself is pretty powerful, so what, you going to make him even more powerful?
I guess. I don't know.
What else could you do to make him more powerful? He's got the power of the Yellow Lantern. That's about it. He is the number one villain. Yeah, why don't you pick another villain?
That's exactly what I was telling you.
Before we get into that, let's do the backstory on this. Now, you said this is a Scott Snyder event, and it comes out of Justice League.
Right.
What in Justice League led up into this?
The initial idea for Justice League is not the Grant Morrison, they're God's thing, but this is a big deal team, and Snyder used, what was it last thing he did?
The Justice League No Escape miniseries.
Yeah, the No Escape Limited series, and everything he did working towards that
with DC Metal.
DC Metal, which has been influencing everything DC's done since that point. And honestly, we've done this. I've talked about this. DC Metal did not impress me at all.
I've read Snyder's Batman, and I've read Snyder's Metal, some of his Justice League. And his work on Justice League and the metal stuff seems awfully slapdash compared to what he did on Batman. Batman seemed much more focused. He seems to be throwing everything at the wall with this thing to see what sticks. And what he's doing is he's basically burning off a lot of DC continuity, DC, I don't want to say tropes, but he took the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths event, and he's basically using it as a side story to get this thing off the ground. I mean, you got Monitor on a Justice League team. What the hell is the point behind that?
You had Darkseid on a Justice League team.
And what is the point behind that?
Yeah.
That was DC's attempt of, we're going to explain to you how magic works and we're going to break the source wall. Because we broke the source wall, all hell breaks loose. And so you're going to see stuff you're not going to see.
Yeah, but breaking the source wall, that's like one of those things you don't do. And he did it just for the hell of it, to see what would happen. The great concepts that Jack Kirby's come up with at DC, Source Wall, New Gods, Great Catastrophe, OMAC, none of it DC has ever been comfortable working. Back then, they didn't understand it.
Yeah, and they still don't.
And then you had a bunch of kids come on board who idolized
read
Jack,
those books and went,
read those books. We know what he was talking about, but they didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And they did their own stories. And it's sort of been a lot of stumbling around in the dark ever since then with a lot of the Jack Kirby concepts. But anyway, going back to it, one of the things Scott Snyder's done is he's pulled the Super Friends out of DC limbo.
Yeah, and did something with them.
It's a concept that's out there that nobody's ever really done anything because it's Super Friends, that cartoon show.
Yeah.
People have been using the Hall of Justice now, ever since Alex Ross made it cool.
Welcome to the Hall of Justice.
They've been using the Hall of Justice, but they haven't used Legion of Doom. Scott Snyder's using Legion of Doom. But it's one of many things that he's pulling out and throwing against the wall to see if it sticks.
Everything that's going on in the Justice League is leading up to next year's big event for DC. So maybe you shouldn't have done You're the Villain and just let it be a Justice League story.
His first story arc was essentially after you got past the 4-issue miniseries where they made Justice League Odyssey.
Right.
Was the Legion of Doom versus the Justice League. They wrapped up that storyline, and that catapulted us into You're the Villain. Now, what happened in that?
Towards the end of that, Luthor had the Batman Who Laughs from the Metal Universe tied up in the basement somewhere. Joker walks over there, takes a look at it, and says, "I'm not working with this guy.
He's too crazy."
No, he's Batman. He's acting like the Joker. He wants to be me, which is pissing me off. But he's really Batman, and he basically walks out on Luthor, and Luthor's telling him,
Joker or Luthor you're talking about?
Joker walks out on the Legion of Doom.
Yeah. I can't work with you. You're going to work with me.
Yeah, he said, "I'm not working with you." No, Lex. The partnership's over. I'm done. He walks away there, and Luthor's telling him, "There's plans here that's bigger than you, Joker." And he's like, "Screw you and your plans." So he walks off being Joker. Luthor is going by this whole thing where he had to Goofy dream where he goes, the entire world has to resort to doom in order for it to survive. And in
I will
order for
save
that
the
to
earth
happen,
by burning it to the ground.
yeah, exactly. All the good guys, you need to cross over to the dark side. Not to use the word dark side, but he wants them to cross over evil. And the best way to do it was to find this person who supposedly controlled the entire multiverse, Perpetua.
Yeah, who got never been to that.
Right, before. Supposed to be the mother of the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor. Luthor's going to give each person a gift. And if they accept him, they powers we upgraded, and bam.
Where's he get the gifts from?
Perpetua.
In order for him to get the gift from Perpetua,
He's got the power.
He has to die.
Yeah, he has to die to get the gift. So he's dead, but then resurrected by her, so he can go around and giving people.
And that's how we get apex-lex.
And
that's where we get apex-lex from.
And
so
those offers also go to heroes as well, because supposedly when this is all over with, a couple of heroes are going to flip to the evil side as well.
Part of the whole year, the villains, they said they was going to ramp up the supervillains. That purple guy over there, Marvel, was stealing all the time.
And when everything is all said and done, when this is over with, then said you go into next year's major event, which DC's kept to the best and haven't really said a lot about. But Year of the Villain is basically a setup book. We're going to set up next year's event with this.
Well, City of Bane ties into that as well, because Bane gets ramped up by Lex, and then you got Leviathan too.
As I told you, City of Bane was going to happen whether this event was there or not. The Leviathan was, remember we talked about earlier about the whole thing, we're going to redefine what magic is? Bendis was tasked, we're going to redefine what the spy agencies are at DC, because there are too many of them.
Yeah, they had a bunch of them.
And so we're going to get rid of all of them. That's them redefining stuff. And you go, we're going to cut it down to like 3.
But that's another event that's gone nowhere. Seriously.
It's a Superman event, yeah.
Okay, but that's an event that's gone nowhere. It branches out of Superman, but it's bigger than Superman. I know ultimately Event Leviathan is supposed to lead to Clark being outed.
Right.
And it started in Bendis' Superman books.
Right, that's your big secret.
But the bulk of Event Leviathan is basically just a mystery story that has nothing to do with Superman. We're going to get to that point.
Right.
But it's been a mystery story up until now. With Lois Lane and Batman and
Martian Manhunter and all the detectives and all the people who could figure out
the question.
The question, they go figure stuff out.
But it's been such a non-event. Nobody's buying the book. Nobody's buying Event Leviathan
because it's something that would have worked while Bendis was working over at Marvel. It does not work when he's working at DC. Bendis writes what Bendis writes, and we can talk about the fact that how much did DC invest in Bendis, and are they getting anything out of it? Because it looks like they're getting product,
but not.
But the Marvel people are going, we told you.
We got quality.
We told you the numbers are not going to be as high as you thought they were. Now you're learning that. You thought this was going to be this big deal. His numbers are probably comparative to the numbers he was doing over at Marvel. So if you're expecting him to sell 125,000 copies of Event Leviathan, you're just stupid. It was never going to happen.
Event Leviathan is more of a hard-boiled detective thing than anything else.
Yeah.
So if you're not looking for a hard-boiled detective, you're out of luck.
You're not going to buy it.
Because that's all this book is.
Yeah, because if you look at it, I mean, it's Alex Maleev art, so it's going to be dark. It's going to be hard-boiled.
Sort of like Daredevil.
And you could finesse that when he was over there at Marvel.
Right.
DC doesn't know how to finesse stuff. DC's always had a problem with publicizing stuff and pushing stuff.
But like I was telling Tim
if
earlier,
Bendis was still over at Marvel, Event Leviathan would have been in USA Today the week before the book shipped, and everyone would have known about it.
Their miniseries have been a little bit better than Marvel's miniseries. But it's like DC has the opportunity and they have the characters. Something just...
It's execution.
DC has always... This goes back to Jack Kirby. DC has always, when they've gotten a big-name creator, Jack Kirby, John Byrne, Brian Bendis, folks in between.
Mark Bagley.
Mark Bagley.
You had Mark Bagley.
They currently have...
You blew it.
They currently have Brian Hitch.
Right. And Hitch is already going... I got this really good Wolverine story I'm working on. So when I go back to Marvel, it's like, are you hinting something, Brian?
DC hires this talent. He brings them over, and they tend to think that the audience that's for this talent is going to follow them. And it will. But at the same time, once the talent follows them, they do nothing to push the book.
No.
Bring your audience with you. Take over this book. You're done. You're on your own.
We get Bagley. Okay, we can't figure out what book to put him on. Really? You can't figure out what book to put him on?
He's a monthly guy.
He can draw anyone.
He can draw anyone, but you know what they should have put him on?
Batman. But they didn't do
Batman.
that. Yeah.
No, they put him on Justice League.
Yeah, they put him on Justice League.
Put him on Detective.
Yeah, you put him on Team Book. Yeah.
You put him on Detective, the weaker sister of the two Bat books. And you let him work on that. And if he's going to do anything with the numbers, that'll be the book he does.
But you didn't do that. You had nothing for him to work on.
It's like the same problem they had with Romita Jr.
Romita Jr., that's another one. That's another one.
And he's sitting there going, where's my contract going?
Yeah.
And the sad part of that is they have all this talent, and DC has always been top-heavy with editorial, but the editorial doesn't know how to make the trains run.
No.
It's like they've never been given an instruction book. Marvel can do so much more with so much less. DC has a wealth of things to work with, from talent to characters. Remember when Marvel was sold?
Yeah.
Disney bought Marvel, and they had like 6,000 characters, 6,000 intellectual properties.
Yes.
DC has a lot more than that, just by virtue of the fact of all the characters they bought over the years from companies that went out of business. Charlton, Quality, the Captain Marvel family, their Earth 1 universe, the Earth 2 universe, the Vertigo characters. They own Wildstorm now. They own all of these intellectual properties. They own many more intellectual properties than Marvel ever had. And they don't know what to do with any of them to make them sell. They're just sort of there. The only book that DC can sell is Batman.
Yeah.
And Batman sells because it's Batman.
I'm Batman.
Okay, not that if you put any schlub on there, you'd have huge sales. You put a good writer on there like Scott Snyder, or even Tom King, and I'm a big defender of Tom King on his stuff. Just because you have this book that comes out of nowhere, Immortal Hulk, and overtakes Batman's sales, doesn't mean Batman's not selling anymore.
No.
He's not selling what he was.
Right. But he's selling.
But he's still selling.
He's still selling.
But DC's number one selling book is still Batman.
Yeah.
Okay, that hasn't changed.
And what'd you do with that book? You pushed King off the book.
You pushed King off the book. So
you replace him with James Tynion the IV, who's a friend of Scott Snyder's. And he's a good writer, but is he like Tom King?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
He's going to be more superhero-ish by nature. He's not Tom King.
Okay, getting back to You're the Villain, because we're going to have to wrap this up. What do you think they can do with You're the Villain at this point? I mean, it looks to me like it's stillborn.
There's nothing you can do. What you got is what you got. There's nothing you can do to fix this. Those issues at the end of the year, they're all in the can.
I think what's going to tell the tale is that miniseries, The Secret Six.
That book will sell because it's Luthor and it's Batman Who Laughs. The Batman Who Laughs is a character that popped up and he became more popular than they thought. That will sell. But when You're the Villain's over, you're going to go, oh, well, that was interesting. Next.
What would probably help matters is if they saying they're converting some heroes over into villains, it's got to be somebody that's going to stay there.
It's got to be a big deal hero.
It's got to be stay there. Not what you did with Wally West in that, because that right there pissed off so many people that it's not even funny.
Red Hood, who's basically a villain already.
The problem you had with Wally West was the TV series came up with the Black Kid Flash.
Yeah.
What do we do with Wally West?
Yeah, we got to do Wally West because he's on TV.
Okay, no, seriously, that's what it came down to. When you are going to have a high-profile TV series like that, and they're going to pull a race change on a character like Wally West, and make him the new Kid Flash, and put him in the traditional costume, the yellow and red, okay, and have him running around, you've already brought Barry Allen back.
Right.
So he can't be Flash because you brought Barry Allen back.
Right.
So what do you do with Wally West? You can't make him Flash again. You got to Flash. You can't make him Kid Flash.
You also had a kid.
Also, forget that. Wally West is black now.
Yeah. Yeah.
As much as people may or may not like that, as much as longtime fans like myself might hate that, this gets into a whole other topic.
To the general public at large, Wally West is now black.
Yeah, Wally West is now black. So the Wally West in the comics has become essentially Donna Troy. What the hell is she? What is her origin? Yeah. Why does she exist? How does she exist? We'll spend the next 50 years redefining him over and over and over and over again.
I'm actually surprised that they haven't introduced Joe West in the comics yet. He's like, well, he's there every week. Where's Joe West during all this?
They don't. Well, you see, Joe West, they don't have to do. He might be an intellectual property, but he's not anything that you need to address in the Flash comic. Okay, Kid Flash, on the other hand, you make lunchboxes out of him.
Yeah,
you put him in the Teen Titans.
Yeah. He's a Titan kid. He's a Kohl's guy. You go, where are the T-shirts? Well, look, it's Kid Flash. He's on a shirt. There's nothing you can do to help You're the Villain. It's over with.
Yeah, Rodney was talking about this earlier. If you're going to do You're the Villain, wouldn't it be a good idea to have, if in the crossovers, have different villains fight the heroes? Yeah. Have Superman fight Joker. Have Batman fight Lex Luthor. I know they're doing the City of Bane, but you know what? Right. You've got Detective.
Yeah. It has no connection to City of Bane.
Okay, so you have Luthor
fight
Batman.
That's my world. That's Peter Tomasi going, Okay, I got my story to tell over here. I cannot involve your story in this.
You have Luthor fight Batman in Detective while City of Bane's going on. Have Star Sapphire fight Flash. Have Gorilla Grodd fight Green Lantern. Okay,
you
mix it up.
You mean like Acts of Evil, the Marvel Annuals, which has people facing people they've never faced before?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Flip it around, move it, do something.
Yeah,
with it.
I mean, like you said, DC has an entire warehouse full of characters that they're just sitting around. It's like they're sitting there gathering dust, going, number seven, okay, pull him up.
We always seem to forget is, Jeff Johns has this line out there, which is supposed to be bringing a bunch of obscure characters about, which we haven't heard about since he got let go. And maybe if Jeff Johns was still chief creative officer, you wouldn't have gotten Year of the Villain. But no, you pushed him out. So, Dan and Jim.
You know what you could have tied into Year of the Villain? I hear there's 3 Jokers out there.
Fans will determine. We will determine which one is the real Joker.
Why can't they all be the real Joker?
Oh, God. So we're going to do
the
vote now.
No, they can't all be the real Joker.
Sure they can. One could be from a parallel Earth or a different timeline or whatever.
But
it's a comic book.
Apparently, we the fans will be the one who ultimately decides who the big deal main Joker. One true Joker.
Remember last time that happened? Will this be a 1-800 number? Will we get to kill Robin too?
This number's disconnected now. I wanted to say. But yeah, that's the solution they should have did. I remember an issue where they had Green Lantern fighting Caliban. Never fought Caliban before. Well,
yeah, I know.
You're talking about the Godhead or Godhead.
Yeah.
Thing.
No, this was before that. This was right around the time before Green Lantern did the whole Emerald Dawn thing.
Oh, okay.
But like I said, they have over
playing Cheetah or something like that.
There you go.
Mix them up.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is not we need to take these villains and amp up their powers. They don't need their powers amped up. What they need is their backgrounds fleshed out. Yeah. That's what they should have worked on. They should have worked on fleshing out the villains more, giving them more background. Remember what they did with Captain Cold? Once upon a time, Captain Cold was a 2-dimensional character.
Captain Cold was boring as crap.
Captain Cold was boring as crap, and was it Jeff Johns?
Yes, it was.
He came in and he totally fleshed out the background of that character and made him interesting.
This is why he's the way he is.
Okay, this is why he's the way he is. And you know what? That transferred over to the TV series. It transferred over to The Flash and then Legends. Yeah. Okay, to the point where you have Captain Cold, spoiler warning if you never saw it, you have Captain Cold sacrificing his life at the end of a season of Legends in order to save the universe.
And you're like, what?
The bad guy, Captain Cold.
He do that?
The villain, Captain Cold. Because you followed this whole story arc with him of where he went from being this evil bad guy to the guy who you will believe will save the universe.
You do the same thing with Heatwave. Heatwave's a romance novelist now.
Which is kind of stupid, but they built an arc. I think it's a clumsy arc, but they built an arc with that character.
Yeah, something different.
But yeah, you flesh out the characters. You don't need to amp up their powers. You don't need to make Cheetah more feral. You don't need to make Lex Luthor 10 times smarter. Okay, what you need to do is flesh them out.
You should have done a Trickster. The Trickster now is way more interesting than the Trickster we first met.
Yeah, exactly.
Way more interesting.
But they could have taken a handful of villains and done that with them.
They have an entire encyclopedia full of characters they could have went through instead of doing the same basic one.
Well, that's the reason why if you look at the Snyderverse, essentially, I always said that was the smartest bit of actual creative thinking and marketing that the movie side of Warner Brothers ever did. You do Superman first in order to reestablish him. Right. Then you put Superman and Batman together because everyone's seen Batman now for like 12 movies. Right. So, we hadn't seen Superman for a while. We just reestablished him. So we're going to put the two of them together.
And we'll introduce Wonder Woman.
And what's the third biggest thing that we have? We've got Superman, we've got Batman, and we've got the villains. The villains is the third biggest thing DC has. It's not Wonder Woman. Yeah. It's all the villains. And that comes right out of the TV series, Batman 66, which I know you love. The villains on that TV series were the centerpiece. They were the focus of that TV series. Batman and Robin were guest stars on that show. Those shows revolved around the villains. And that's what made DC so strong in the 60s, was their villains. They had this huge rogues gallery, which has just grown over the years.
Right.
Do something with them.
That's the concept of focus. What does Marvel have that DC doesn't have? They got Mark Waid and Tom Brevoort. Both of those guys remember every single freaking character Marvel's ever invented.
I know.
And will pull those characters out of their butts.
Yeah.
And then you bring in a guy like Donny Cates who knows almost every other freaking character Marvel's invented. He goes, okay, I'm going to do this stuff with all this mystical stuff. You don't have that over at DC. You've got individual editors, none of which have worked on writing comics, by the way.
Have they even read a comic?
No, they read comics. They're good editors over at DC, but those guys came from being editors first and only editors. They never wrote anything. They supervised. That's all they did.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up.
That's it.
So, if you're out there and you've heard of Year of the Villains, I can't tell you to pick it up. I think that they've done some good stories.
Yeah.
But overall, as a thing, it doesn't hang together. Yeah. So, pick up some of the individual issues. If you like the Riddler, they did a Riddler Year of the Villain. It's a good read. You should pick it up. If you're looking for it to be part of this overall larger storyline, you're going to be disappointed. So, don't bother with that. And, of course, you will find those down here at Alternate Reality. Look at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie, beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. Alternate Reality, where all new comics are 15% off every day for everyone. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming in today. Rod.
So long.
Bo.
Bye.
And before I get out of here, let me remind you that this podcast you can find on the store's website, which is myalternatereality.com. You could also find my shipping videos, myalternatereality.com. You'll find shipping information, you'll find news, Bo's news, you'll find Vito's reviews and JR's reviews, and much, much more, myalternatereality.com. Until next time, folks, you take care of yourself. Thank you for listening, and bye! Thanks a lot for listening. If you enjoyed this show, please like and share it with all your friends. We value your feedback, so drop us a question, comment, show idea, or complaint either at arcomics@msn.com or, if provided, in the comments section down below on this platform. The opinions expressed in this episode are solely those of the individuals and not necessarily those of Alternate Reality Incorporated. This show is, as always, coming to you from the Alternate Reality Comic Shop, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie, serving Chicago comics fandom since 1994.
You want to take it from the top?
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay.